We're going to eat us some of that Greg Hill fried turkey and drink us some hooch. And
they don't know what to do with the turkey back then.
And reminisce what it was like when Mrs. Toth was the hot 4th grade teacher and we all ended up fantasizing about her later in life. All right. It's a day before Thanksgiving.
All right.
All right, so Tom Brady had his, he had his comments on the league, Christian. What Tom Brady is upset about that you are going to sum up in one word.
Okay, should we play it again, though? So, no,
no. People know that Brady did the league.
What he is upset about, if I could put it into everyday terminology, is he's talking about fear. Fear has been removed from the game. The NFL is trying to regulate fear. They're trying to control it. They're trying to abolish it. They're trying to get rid of it. There is no fear for anybody anymore. So when a running back goes through the hole, a receiver goes up for a pass, there's no fear of them really being hurt.
Yeah.
They can't get hit. When their backs are turned, they're not going to have to worry about it. I used to rip John Lynch because everyone used to talk about how tough he was and, what a hard hitter he was. I was like, hell, anyone can hit me when my back is turned and I don't see him coming. Why is he so tough? What makes him so tough? Like, he's hitting me, I don't even see him, and he's hitting me when my back is turned and I don't have a clue what's going on. You're a real tough guy. So, but that's what it is. You can't get hit. You got to do this. You got to protect this guy. He's right about the players. So the defensive player who has been tasked with tackling the person with the ball has to make sure he protects him, as opposed to that guy who is carrying the football needs to protect himself. You cannot have a violent sport and take out the violence. You can't have a physical game and say, don't be physical.
Because that was my word, is that Brady was going to complain that the physical has been taken out of the game, but yours makes sense and it ties into the lack of physicality in the game.
Think about, because I would say in the end, NFL's gone too far. There was a time of quarterbacks of the 80s, late 70s and 80s were being unfairly destroyed. They were. It's amazing how tough those guys were, and they all mock the quarterbacks of today for being soft.
Like the Montana hit from Jim Burt, where he gets his head ripped off.
But that's one aspect of it. Think about your knees and your ankles and the way they used to, throw you to the ground. Now, if you gently toss them to the ground,
can't land on them
because they don't want their shoulder to pop out because they want to protect the quarterback. And they're probably saying, we were right. Look at all the starting quarterbacks that are hurt. And I would say, well, what do you want me to do? So, but they took out the violence and they protected the quarterbacks. But then they just kept going. And they kept going and they kept going and they kept going. It's gone too far. Like, I see videos and tons of videos of Brady getting his ass just handed to him repeatedly. He's probably sitting there going, when I played, you had to be, part of it was to be tough. Mm-hmm. Like, you didn't get these calls. You didn't get these benefits. And I dealt with less than the guys who played in the early 90s did. Those guys were sitting ducks. There was no regulation. There was no protection of those guys. And you had to have a set. Now you're telling me that it's fair game on the offensive player for them to just cry foul. And that's what I think he's talking about.
Well, I do think that we have now gone the other way in terms of kind of weighting as in offense and defense and sort of where the penalties lie and how the NFL needs to clean the game up. What they've done is created their own kind of problem by taking some of the physicality out of the game. And now we have defensive backs who use this hip drop tackle, and guys are getting hurt left and right. So the NFL, so worried about concussions, we're like, don't touch anybody in the head, but guys are getting their knees blown out all the time. Their legs are compromised constantly because you have defensive backs who, let's just be real, they turn it down. If you're using the whole hip drop tackle, it is either you're turning it down or you're a 200-pound defensive back trying to tackle a 250-pound tight end, And in a way, it's the only way you can get the guy down to the ground. That I can at least rationalize if there's a 50-pound weight difference. But when you've got defensive backs who just don't want to tackle properly, they don't want to stick their nose in there, they don't want to use their shoulder, they just want to drop down and have the guy fall on top of them, now you get people getting hurt left and right. So in taking some of the physicality and, as you say, Christian, the fear out of the game, you've now turned people into sort of missiles that are aiming at your knees or just trying to fall on your legs to get you down, and the injury rate's gone up.
Yeah, I you know what? You still have to be tough to play this game. But I would say, and you still have to be a little nutty to kind of survive for a long period of time. But all these plays, and like when I think about the fear that I dealt with of possibly being decapitated, blindside hits, you name it. Like I got hit so many times where I didn't know where the hell I was because it was just now that would be called dirty plays. And you just have to live with it. And then it was just one of those things like from not Happy Gilmore, The Water Boy. You know, someone would knock you out. If you had your wits about you, you would figure out what number it was, and you'd be like, okay, game on. That is the way. It was like frontier justice.
Yeah.
You just listen. You get me? Okay, fair game. I can cut you. I can cut and roll on you. I used to cut and roll like a son of a bitch.
I was going to say,
okay?
when you played 3 yards in front and behind the line of scrimmage, it was fair game, right?
I would cut them, and then if I missed them, I would roll towards them. I would clip their heels, and they would fall like a sack of potatoes.
Well, you know what? Like somebody just texted in out of the 781, and good morning to those listening on Twitch and on the Odyssey app and maybe watching us on YouTube. The 781 says, remember the play that blew out Gronk's knee? It's another perfect example of it.
Yeah, and he's on record saying, listen, I'd rather you go at my head.
I'd rather have a concussion than have to rehab a knee injury. 617-779-7937.